No, that's an ugly word, spy. No, I did. I worked for British SIS, yes, last half of the war when I was injured and couldn't fly. Sure I did.
Good afternoon in this case. The sun's just come out as I've started filming. I'm in Mixenden to find the final resting place of Roald Dahl. And this is the church, look. The parish church of St Peter's and St Paul's. Great Mixenden. Yeah, it is great as well. It's a lovely little village, but if it looks a bit different, I'm using my phone today because my pocket camera has gone faulty. So hang in there and we'll go find Roald. Interesting character. It's a good film, I hope. So how Roald Dahl became to be an author is quite an interesting little story. He was a fighter pilot in the Second World War, and this is quite funny when I tell you this. You'll laugh. Well, I hope you laugh anyway. He was sent out on a mission over a desert, and they sent him in the wrong direction. Basically, he ran out of fuel and he crashed the plane. But the problem was, he crashed the plane and he broke his nose, he damaged his back, and he was in a bit of a state, really. Lucky to survive, I presume, you know. But when he eventually got his health back at the end of the war, he used to tell the story, but he always said that he was brought down by fighter pilots. There's the author intake coming into it. Cheeky boy. I don't know, he's telling a little fib there. I've seen him on film saying it. He was brought down by fighter pilots, but he wasn't. I mean, you know, taking nothing away from me. The guy lived in pain for the rest of his life, so you know, he was doing the war effort, wasn't he? So all well to him for being a fighter pilot. Oh, I just come up the hill. Wow, trying to get fit a bit. Poof. I'm having a look from the top view actually, but it's lovely up here. But this is how Roald Dahl became an author. It's very quite interesting. He was in Washington, and he was in the British Embassy, and this little chap came in and went up to him and said, I want to speak to you if you don't mind. He said, who are you? He says, C.S. Forester. He said, no way. Because he admired C.S. Forester, the author. But he was. So they arranged to have lunch together. So they were having this meal. I can't remember what meat they was eating, but they was eating something. And he said he was trying to tell Roald Dahl that what he wanted was some written example of what it was like to be in the RAF and the pilot, and to put a positive spin on it so that it would be a good morale for the country during the war. So whilst they were having the meal with this guy, C.S. Forester was taking down the notes, but he couldn't do it properly because he was eating at the same time. So Roald noticed that and he said, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll write this tonight for you, send it to you, and you rectify any problems with it, which there will be. And yeah, that's great. So he wrote the thing for C.S. Forester and sent it to him, and he was amazed with C.S. Forester. He said, there is no changes needed. He said, it's fantastic. And we're going to publish it, and there's $1,000 American for it. That was the beginning. He suddenly realised he could be a writer. So for 25 years he wrote lots of short stories for adults, and that's how it was going to be. But because he had 5 children, I think he was running out of stories to read them at night time in bed, and he thought, I'll make some up myself. And there lies the beginning of his domination for being one of the most prolific and famous authors for children. But he didn't realise that initially, but he realised he could write these stories. And really, when you look at it carefully, his ability that was extremely unusual was that like he said, most people get older, they grow out of the childhood things, they become more pompous or solemn, dealing with life and all that sort of thing with its dissatisfactions, and they lose the perspective of what it's like to be a child. But he could tap into that, and that was his talent. And of course he exaggerated these stories. He made them quite, in fact at the time they were so sort of on the dark side that they were quite shocking, but he managed to get away with it by injecting humour all the time for the children, and the kids loved them. You know, they were gasping and laughing, and that's what made it successful. He did get problems with the press because they thought that these were too dark, But it's the test. It's the litmus test is the kids loved him, and that's what made him so successful. I watched quite a few programs on Roald Dahl, and he used to sit in this little brick shed in his garden to get away from the children when they were young, and then later on, you know, hoovers and things like that. He wanted to be able to concentrate. He would go in there for 4 to 4.5 hours a day. He never cleaned the place. It was looked filthy, really, but he had a comfortable chair because of his damaged back, you know, from the plane crash. And he used to tie the stool to the chair so his legs were secure. And then he put a blanket over him if it was very cold, a sleeping bag. And it was filthy. He said once a goat did some droppings in the shed, and that was the only time he cleared it out. So you know, he concentrated in those 4 hours, 4.5 hours. He was in a different world, and that's allowed him. It was quite tiring, he said, but that allowed him to immerse himself in the subject. He didn't want all the silliness of cleaning the place up. He wanted to concentrate on the thing that was important and sharpen his pencils before he started, and bang, the magic started then. Look how lovely it is, can you see? I'm heading back down to the church, and then we're going to go in and find his grave.
Bustling about. No, I always write in this little hut. I always have. It is absolutely quiet up here. And I always use 6 pencils, and they always have to be sharpened before I start. Finally, you get settled. You get into a sort of nest and get really comfortable. And then you're away.
Roald Dahl wanted the dark elements in the book because life is dark sometimes, and he wanted kids to sort of realise that. But he didn't like the fact that in real life, bad things happen to good people and vice versa. So he always wanted to try and make the baddies, you know, suffer for it, and he did. And he was very good in his own life. He had a lot of hardship in a way because his back injuries and his leg injuries from the plane crash caused him to be in constant pain. And his wife Patricia, she had 3 serious strokes while she was bearing a child, and he had to look after for a very extensive period of time. So he knew what hardship was, and it happened to his own children, unfortunately. He had Theo, his son. He had an accident, and it caused him to have real problems. And Roald Dahl invented, he created it was like a syringe mechanism, and he co-created this thing, and it actually, I don't exactly know what it was, but it was used, and it saved thousands of children's lives. So in my book, that's probably the most important thing he ever did. So that shows you he wanted to make the world a better place. And another really tragic event was that he had a little girl called Olivia. She died aged 7. She caught measles. And one day he was talking to her, and her hands weren't moving in connection to a body, and she died. You know, he was there when she died. It's terribly sad. And he promoted the vaccination campaign. It was 24 years later, to try and get children vaccinated. You know, what he actually said was he made a statement. I'm trying to remember what it was now. Measles is a dangerous illness. So when he was asked what he wanted people to think about him when he'd gone, he said, I'll quote Oscar Wilde, and I like this one. He said, "When I'm gone, my sins were scarlet, but my books were red." There we go. And I actually was talking to the chap who puts the cream teas out and looks after the place, and he invited me around for a barbecue, but I couldn't make it. But if you see the video, Martin, thank you ever so much, Martin. That was very kind of you. I hope you rent one of my cottages. Give me a nod if you see the film. Here we go. Yeah, it's nice, isn't it? The thing with this is, wait on, I can spin it round, can't I? Let's go in. Oh, it's nice. It's in good condition. Very nice. Wow, you always have this lovely quiet, well, it won't for my voice, lovely quiet atmosphere. Wow, that's nice, isn't it? The glass. There we go. Oh, beautiful. Made of glass. Restoration of the bell, 1990. Wow. That's good. That was very interesting. Actually, when I say I don't know Roald Dahl, I did because of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. It was written by Ian Fleming, actually, in 1964. But Roald Dahl did the screenplay. And he added elements to it, like the child catcher. You know, quite a horrific little character. But that's the way he was. He put this darkness into the stories. And it gave him some oomph, sort of thing. But yeah, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. I didn't really get into Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory because I was a bit too old for that. But obviously kids loved it, didn't they? So yeah, definitely. Great writer. Great man, actually. I mean, he sold over 3 million books. And I think he's probably, if not one of the most famous child novelists in the world. And like he said in interviews, it's harder to be a child novelist than an adult novelist because you've got to capture the children's imagination, and he said children are very critical, and if they like something, they won't read it once; they'll read it many times. You know, they'll come back to it, and so they're not like an adult. We read the book, put it down, and get a different one. But like he said, children can't write this themselves, and when they like something, they stick on to it, and it becomes like a friend, and they read it over and over again. We're nearly there. We're here now. It's by the tree. Why have I put my voice down? Don't know. Oh, there's a gentleman on the seat there. I think I'll pause and give this chap. It's actually a guy that I think's been working, but look, I'm going to spin it there. Can you see? That's where he is, beyond that seat. So I'm going to wait. You don't have to wait. It'll happen so quick for you until he's gone, and then we'll go in and see Roald Dahl's final resting place. Oi, shift it. If you like Tales of the Unexpected, like I do, like I say, I've watched all of them. I'll tell you a little story about the lady who dances on it with that iconic music. She was a model, and she came along, and they wanted to dance for the day, you know. And she had to do all that wiggling around with sexy dancing. And they greased her all up in leotard and grease on top. And it's something to do with the effects. And she thought, this is horrendous. She danced for a very short period of time, something like a minute, you know. And that, of course, became iconic because it's on every show. I don't know her name, I can't remember. If I can find it, I'll pop it on the screen. But yeah, that little 1 minute is emblazoned in everybody's brain because it's at the beginning of every episode, isn't it? They asked me to do it, but I wasn't available that day. I was eating lunch. Roald Dahl wrote kids' classics Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda and James and the Giant Peach, among other famous works. Roald Dahl was a British author who penned 19 children's books over his decades of long writing career. In 1953, he published the best-selling stories Someone Like You. He published the popular James and the Giant Peach in 1961. In 1964, he released another highly successful work, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which was later adapted into 2 films. Dahl was born in Llandaff, South Wales, on September the 13th, 1916. Dahl's parents were Norwegian. As a child, he spent his summer vacations visiting his grandparents in Oslo. When Dahl was 4 years old, his father died. The young Dahl received his earliest education at Llandaff Cathedral School when a principal gave him a harsh beating for playing a practical joke. While Dahl hardly excelled as a student, his mother offered to pay for his tuition at Oxford and Cambridge University. When he graduated, Dahl's response, as a quote from the autobiography Boy, Tales of a Childhood, was, "No thank you, I want to go straight from school to work for a company that will send me to wonderful faraway places like Africa and China." And that he did. After Dahl graduated from Repton in 1932, he went on an exhibition to Newfoundland. Afterwards, he took a job with the Shell Oil Company in Tanzania, Africa, where he remained until 1939. Lusting for more adventure, in 1939, Dahl joined the Royal Air Force after training in Nairobi, Kenya. He became a World War II fighter pilot. While serving in the Mediterranean, Dahl crash-landed in Alexandria, Egypt. The plane crash left him with serious injuries to his skull, spine and hip. Following a recovery that included hip replacement and 2 spinal surgeries, Dahl was transferred to Washington, D.C., where he became an assistant air attaché. Dahl married actress Patricia Neal, who won an Academy Award for her role in Hood in 1961. The marriage lasted 3 decades and resulted in 5 children, one of whom tragically died in 1962. Dahl died on November 23, 1990, at the age of 74. He suffered an unspecified infection on November 12, 1990. Dahl had been admitted to John Ratcliffe Hospital in Oxford, England. Well, quick as a flash, he's gone. In actual fact, I went over to the seat and had a chat with the guy I thought was the gardener, and he was looking after his wife's grave. A very interesting man, and yeah, I enjoyed the conversation. But here we go, let's spin. There we go. I'm going to move in now and show you Roald Dahl's final resting place. And these are the names of his children around this seat, and the little stones going down to his grave are the stepping stones. So let's have a little read. I don't know where it starts, that's the problem. Here we are. Okay, we'll read this stone now. It says, the giraffe and the Pele and me. Okay? We have tears in our eyes as we wave our goodbyes. We so love being with you, we three. So do please, now and then, come and see us again. Right. I think I should have done it with my drone, carrying my drone round. It might have been easier than using my phone. Here we go. Now, where is it now? Ah! There we go. There's the footsteps, look, coming down. Here we are. Can you see? Those are the footsteps. And we come round to Roald Dahl. Hello, Roald. Got to say, it was Tales of the Unexpected that I watched the most. For me. Very good. So it is quite a simple grave, isn't it? That must be the crest. And it says Roald Dahl, 13th of September 1916, 23rd of November 1990. Very good. Okay, here we go. Now I know it's going to look a little bit dwarfed, but I'm going to put this in the plant pot at the front, and it'll add a little bit of colour there, won't it? So there it is. That's it. That's it, the beet beet flower. Yeah, it's nice. Thank you, Roald, for all the great work for the children, and for my audience and myself who enjoyed things like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Tales of the Unexpected. We did, didn't we? So, you know, it's got I always say something at the end, but I believe all this stuff. Children have a different perspective. They have the curious, inquisitive, they have joy, they look at the big picture. When we get older, we're serious, we focus on the reasons why, and we close it all down. We're very narrow in our thinking. We don't have that zest, and you know, that zest for life and that fun. It bonds us to people. So we've all got the child inside us if we can lay it out. So I think that's my message today. And I try to, as much as possible. I'm a bit stupid sometimes, but I like being stupid. It makes me feel happy. So I hope you're happy out there. So don't forget, subscribe and hit the notifications bell, and give me a thumbs up and a comment. You know I love the comments. And from me, Alan at MotorHome, beep beep. Let's all be childlike for a while. I'll see you all very soon. Take care. Bye.